In this module, I'll be talking about my entry-level resume. This will be the resume that got me my first job as a software engineer. If you're watching this, you're probably a bootcamp grad, a self-taught developer, a recent CS grad, or somewhere in that realm. Essentially, you're either already a junior developer or you're aspiring to be a junior developer. Now, I would say definitely watch this video because it will relate to you closely, but I will also say that I learned a lot of things along the way. Even though this template was successful for me when I applied, I would suggest watching the more advanced module later on. That way you'll get to see how my current resume looks. Let's jump right into it. So at the top, you'll see a standard header, first name, last name, job title that you're trying to be. Now, here's the first point that I want to emphasize. I would recommend you say your specific role. So if you're trying to be a JavaScript developer, say that. If you're trying to be a Java developer, say that. If you're trying to be a front-end developer, say that. Saying software engineer is good, but the better approach is to specify the type of roles that you're going for. It will help you later on with the ATS process. You want to add your phone number. You want to add your email address. I added my personal website and I added my GitHub. Now, one thing to note, I would also add my LinkedIn here, and then you'll see that in my most recent video. Guys, my GitHub back then wasn't that great, and compared to what I can do now, it is horrible. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you that GitHubs don't matter at all. You definitely at least need to show something, but a lot of the recruiters and hiring managers that are looking at it, they don't know what they're really looking at. They just need something visual that they can show to whoever they're reporting to say, yes, this person has coded before. My GitHub is horrible. The link is here. You can go through, see some of the projects. At the time, I had fun building them, but I'm not a UX UI designer, so a lot of it doesn't look great. The functionality is a bit wonky, but you know, I got the job anyway. So I just wanted to call this out here. So next section we're gonna go through is the professional experience. Now, you wanna make sure that this is front and center. Now, if you notice that this is a two-columned approach, I did this at the time because I felt like my professional experience and my skills both needed to be front and center. So how do you show that you have the capability of becoming a software engineer? You put the skills a little bit higher. Now, in one of the other modules, we talk about the XYZ method. I did not know about the XYZ method back then, but I did know that you want to have results in as many bullet points as possible. So you'll see this first bullet point here, I talk about reducing potential financial losses up to 20%. You want to always quantify a result, even if you don't do things in the XYZ method specifically. Now, this skills section, the first thing that you want to do is write all the skills that come to mind. You want to remember that a resume is a living document. You don't need to get it perfect right away. As you apply for more jobs, you'll see skills that you actually do have, whether it's technical skills or more non-technical skills. You'll see them and the word will stick out to you. I would recommend just going back and adding it in. And that's kind of what I did here. I think when I first started out, my skills stopped up to maybe CSS 3. And then I saw object-oriented programming, and then I was like, oh, okay, a keyword is data structures. And then I saw the word agile pop up on a lot of different job descriptions. So you want to continue to add this in, and we'll go over that when we're actually making the edits to your resume. But I want to call this out. Write down as many skills that you can think of to start. And then as you apply for more using more job descriptions, you add the skills as you go. So this is pretty self-explanatory here in terms of the experience. I try to keep it 3 to 5 bullet points as a standard. This one, obviously, it only had 2 bullet points, but at the time I was really trying to keep my resume one page. And using this website, I used a website called app.enhancv.com in order to make it look like this. I liked this app at the time because I felt like I had a good amount of control in terms of the section. And I had much better control when it comes to the resume standing out visually. I know I struggle with making things look good, so I wanted to use an app that helped me with that. What I will say is resumes similar to this, even though they look nice and they look better than the average resume, they don't always pass through ATS scanners as well as you would like them to. What I found is this resume would sometimes be read from left to right, which obviously isn't the case because this is a 2-column resume. So I ran into some situations where I would put my resume in and they would read my professional experience as software engineer in Java, Python, JavaScript, React, company name, ChatGPT, HTML. And obviously, if it's reading like that, everything gets messed up. Technology has gotten a lot stronger, so You won't run into this issue often, but it is something to note. So what I would recommend, use this resume whenever you're going to some type of in-person event. When you know you can hand out your resume and you want to stand out visually from the pack, this resume is perfect. And when I was trying to get my first software engineering job, I went to a lot of tech events. I went to Afro Tech, for example. Like, I spent a week out there just handing out resumes to whoever, I had a conversation with, and this resume stood out. So, pros and cons when it comes to everything. What I wanted to show you though, was if you click on these different sections, you can actually drag and drop. So I can move my software engineering section down. I can move my software engineering fellow section back to where it was. I can change the dates here. I can change the location. So this really helped with making the structure of the resume. You want to make sure that your project has a project name, the date in which you created the project, and you want to make sure you have one summary sentence that tells the viewer what the project is about. And you want to add in all of the tech stacks, skills that you developed as a result of doing this project. So in this case, my fraud detection API project, I led and collaborated with coworkers to build a fraud detection API using Java, Spring Boot, JPA for the backend, and Postgres for the database. That bullet point talks about what the project is about, what skills I use, and how I use those skills. What I see a lot of people do is just mention that they have a project. They might drop a link to their project, but that's not enough. You really want to make sure you're showing, not telling. You want to illustrate the picture, even if the person isn't a very, very technical person. And, essentially each bullet point goes through. You want your strongest project or your most recent project to be at the top. And I only had space for 2 projects at the time, so I chose these 2. Moving down to education and certs, you want to put your most recent education and certifications at the top. So I went ahead and put my AWS Cloud Practitioner cert at the time ahead of my bachelor's. And as I mentioned to you guys before, I'm a bootcamp grad, right? So I originally was a finance major, minored in philosophy, and I switched over into software engineering. The reason why I didn't put my bootcamp grad experience here in my previous resume, it was down here in my education and it was up here in experience, as to fill up the space a bit more and you get more keywords that way. The reason why it's not here though is because I ran out of space and I wanted to keep this resume as a 1-pager. So I felt it was stronger to put it in my professional experience. So once again, if you're looking for a resume that looks really, really nice and that stands out in a crowded pile of resumes, using an app like this will definitely help. If you want a resume that has a higher chance of passing an ATS, then watch the next video and I'll talk about my mid-level resume that ended up getting me a job in less than 2 months.